This is for the leaders, the visionaries, the hope bringers, kindness instigators. This is your place to get loved, poured into, activated, and inspired. Well, good morning. Welcome to Fireside Friday, um, December 12th, 2025. 12/12 today. Welcome in. It is so good to be here with you. And for those of you here in the Zoom room, thank you for your patience as I was doing lots of clicks before we got ourselves started today. Um, so many floating windows. Um, well, it's really good to be in the space with you today. And I didn't really know it was going to come through. But yesterday and this morning, I feel like I've gotten some consistent um, messages. So we're going to go with that. The first thing is that I woke up this morning and sometimes I'll wake up with songs in my head. And I used to think, like, that's funny. Like, I wonder why I'm singing that or whatever, and just go on with my life. Sometimes listen to the lyrics, um, or the song. Just, sometimes we have something. But what I believe now is that if I'm waking up to lyrics of a song that I just can't shake, that, you know, I don't know when I heard it last. It's like I'll repeat the same lines. What I've started doing is actually going like, what is the message here for me? And this morning, the song is by, I think it's Milk. I don't know if that's how she says her name, Milck. And the lyrics, well, the song's called Quiet. And a lot of our firesides over the last several weeks have really been calling us into some of that solitude, into quiet. But this is a different take on the word quiet. This isn't about taking time and solitude and space for yourself. It's actually going deeper, or a different angle of quiet. And that, on a lot of ways, we learn how to be quiet. We learn how to silence our voice in order to accommodate those around us, how to be pleasing, how to change our voice, how to learn what's acceptable to say and what's not. And for many of you here in this space, you're here because your voice is something that is needed in the world. You are a dreamer, an innovator, someone who craves things to be done differently. And with that often comes um, conditions that we're in that mean that our voice might actually get us into a little trouble. It might actually cause some repelling and some attracting always, but there is some kind of cost that will happen when we use that voice. And I think a lot of times, at least for me, the fear has been that I might be misunderstood. Um, so try to say it better, try to capture it completely. But what I have found is that no amount of perfection can actually share my voice. My voice actually has to come out into the arena, and it actually has to take the microphone or put up the chair or pull out the block or whatever it is, and start sharing. And it could be really small. Maybe it's not in an arena. But I feel like right now, anytime that we're interacting, for the most part, in our businesses and our lives, we do have a kind of platform that is social media, which we could get into all the pluses and minuses of. But right now, I feel like there is a level of, there's a noise, there's always noise on social media. But right now, I feel like the invitation for us is to really not be quiet. That doesn't mean that we're always sharing, but that we are sharing when we're feeling the nudge. Because So going back to the song, and I pulled up the lyrics here too. When we're really looking at What does it look like to use our voice to actually bring clarity, to bring wisdom, to bring creativity to the table? Um, just a second. I think I've lost that window when I was going through and mad dashing. But I want to read you some of these lyrics. Um, it says, put on your face, know your place, shut up and smile, don't spread your legs. I could do that. But no one knows me, no one ever will, if I don't say something, if I just lie still. Would I be that monster, scare them all away, if I let them hear what I have to say? I can't keep quiet. No, I can't keep quiet. No, a one-woman riot. I can't keep quiet for anyone, not anymore, because no one knows me. No one ever will. If I don't say something, take that dry blue pill. They may see the monster, they may run away, but I have to do this. I can't keep quiet. No, I can't keep quiet. No, a one-woman riot. Oh, I can't keep quiet. There'll be someone who understands. Must be someone who will understand. Let it out, let it out, let it out now. There'll be someone who understands. Let it out, let it out, let it out now. I can't keep quiet. No, no, I can't keep quiet. What I think, the lyrics that were, it's that no one knows me, no one ever will. No, I can't be quiet. No, I can't stand still. These, listening to her talk about this too, she was actually in a singing competition and she was put in some funny clothes. She lost a lot of herself inside of that. She just talked about the way that the world around her was ebbing and flowing as she was trying to even find that voice to bring it to the table. And I think too, that's part of the way that we work things forward too, for a lot of us who are here to say something, to not stay quiet. Um, the other part of that is I heard another song this week and I've been chewing on um, part of the lyrics. And he said, I'm not the black sheep, I'm the blueprint. I'm not the black sheep, I'm the blueprint. I think a lot of times too, if we're brave enough to not stay quiet, to share with the world, with our families, um, with people who we love, what we feel like we're meant to say, um, that we really are here to be an invitation into something else. Every time I hear a voice that was brave, that said something that might ruffle some feathers, that might make them look like a monster, just like the song was talking about, it has been for a lot of, I needed people. I needed those voices to not stay quiet. I needed to feel like I wasn't alone in the feelings that I was having and also in the instigation of what could be possible. A lot of times too, we do stay quiet. I said this a little earlier because we learn how to behave. We learn what it looks like to stay within the lines or color in those lines. Um, and we know how to play that, but we don't often think about too what might be lost in the shuffle when we do stay quiet. And also, I think something that I've been learning over the last couple of years is that again, thinking about what if I stop thinking about myself as the black sheep? What if I start thinking about myself as a blueprint? What would shift or change? Not to say that everyone has to be modeled after me, but what if I'm born into the family I am, into the sphere of influence that I am, in order to break those patterns, in order to stay the same, to say the things that are coming forward on my heart, because maybe that is an invitation for my family to do something differently. Maybe it is a part of a conversation that just gets to rub shoulders with and create a little friction for some people. Maybe that friction is needed for their own growth. I think about too, I'm being reminded of even a pearl. A pearl is made through the irritation of just like a piece of sand over time. It has to be, the pressure of that, but it takes the friction in order to grow that pearl. I don't know the ins and out of it, or I would try to explain it. I don't. I just know that it takes irritating sand to create something really beautiful in the end. And sometimes it can feel easier to stay quiet. There's some risk, right? When we bring our creativity, our voice into the midst of life, and creativity. There will probably be people who have things to say. I've shared about that before, but you know what? Last week, this is just funny too, and I felt like I was supposed to speak into this too, is that last week, Spotify released something called, well, within the last couple weeks, they're like wrapped. So they send you all of your stats for the end of the year. And I have like a personal profile that I listen on. So that shows you all your top artists, how many minutes you've listened, all that good stuff. But I do the podcast through a Spotify platform. And so they did one for podcasts. And last Friday morning, I was looking at some of the stats they shared with me. And one of the things I thought, because this is a smaller podcast. It's never been something I've monetized or something that I was seeking to grow really big. Of course, I would love for it to grow, but really the intention behind it was for it to meet people where they are and find it as they need it. And to just keep bringing my voice into the world, because I do feel like it's needed. I feel like this is part of something I'm here to do. And so um, I was encouraged, but also surprised that one of the stats it shared, and again, there were all these things going through me, like how many people are doing videos. One of the stats said that my podcast videos on Spotify are in the top 30% of most watched. And I was like, that's kind of cool. Like, that's a cool stat. I don't know how many people have a podcast who are doing videos with it. But I share these video recordings with that. And so that was kind of cool to receive. And I was thinking, that's neat. Like, I don't know what that really means in the grand sum of things, but it's kind of cool. Um, Later that night, I got an email. And I believe that this email was actually sent to me by somebody who I know and who's from my past and who was really close to me, someone who I invested a lot of my life with and into. And again, I don't have proof. I want to share the email, and there's a reason I'm sharing this too. But let's see what we got here. Here we go. So I have to another window. So they created an email. Um, it's gyoself12@gmail.com if anyone wants to shout them out. But the email says, the subject line says really. Um, and they named themselves Go F Yourself. And so the body of the email, just laughing, crying emojis, a podcast, really? LMAO, just what the world needed was another podcaster incessantly ramble. Bullet dodged for me, honestly, but that is hilarious. Enjoy your 12 listeners. And it was another laughing, crying emoji. Now, I'm sharing that here because, again, when we share our voice, there will be people who respond and react. And it's interesting the amount of time that that person took to create an email, to send me that message. I would say maybe there's some instigation that they need there. But for me, what I was reminded of, even when I read it, is that every time we creatively step out, there will probably be people who have something to say. And again, the thing that's not lost on me, it's that same, if you ever listened to Brene Brown talk about the arena, the man in the arena, this person, what are they doing? Are they putting themselves out there? Probably not. They're hiding in the shadows, they're skulking along the lines. And that's kind of the difference too, is I am taking time, space, intention, risk when I share my voice because sure, people can weigh in. But you know what else I've received this year too, and I've shared sometimes. I've received so many messages of people thanking me for the just the right message at just the right moment, getting people through some hard seasons, difficult. And what if I didn't open my mouth? What if I didn't share my voice? Even for people who are listening now in the room, or what would that look like if this wasn't here? And maybe it would be very small. That's okay too. But maybe those small things have really contributed to something really big. That's my hope, is that over time it has really given back to each one of you, that it has fostered your flame, that it has stoked your fire, because that has been the heartbeat and the intention behind it. And this morning, too, for whatever reason, I felt like I was also supposed to speak into this idea, right? Is that same idea of not treating ourselves or thinking of myself as the black sheep, but the blueprint. There's something that shifts with that. I was reminded of the example of Mia Thermopolis from Princess Diaries, right? Mia was an awkward kid inside of a high school, kind of nerdy, whatever, living her own lane. No idea that she was really part of a royal family of a country called Genovia, Princess Mia Thermopolis. And what happened when her life was interrupted, when something shifted and changed, and there was some contracting in that, there's some ebbing and flowing and some negotiating that happens in that discovery. But what would that look like if you believed that you were royalty, that you were here to use your voice to rule? I mean, and I mean that. We are ruling reality every time we are putting things out into the world. What would you like to be saying? What do you wish that you had the courage to do or say? Or maybe today the invitation is like just taking that time and space in order to say something. And it could also just be to a friend. It doesn't have to be a social media post. I think something else that has been huge for me this year is just the reminder of like, it doesn't have to be a huge, huge thing. Sometimes a really small step it's still momentum. It is still part of the journey and it is still building toward the thing that we want to create each and every time we're taking that step. Um, and I was also reminded yesterday, I was working on some project for my brother. He's going to something called SantaCon this weekend in Cincinnati. And so he brought me a sweatshirt and wanted a decal put on. I've got a cricket. But I also bought a hoodie yesterday at Goodwill that I was like, ooh, I have a blank canvas here. And since I'm going to have my cricket out working on his SantaCon, I am going to create something for myself. And so letting that creativity flow, but I was looking at some of the quotes or things that I might consider, and that's why I landed on this. But I've been reading or listening to really a lot of romanticy this year, and it's really been so life-giving for me to fly with dragons, to, have my lover have fangs. I think it's kind of hot, whatever it is. But I love this quote from Sarah J. Maas, she is huge in that world, and it comes from the Empyrean series. But she said, "The world will be saved and remade by the dreamers." The world will be saved and remade by the dreamers. And I think again, this goes back into thinking about when things change, when we need shifts in creativity and innovation, it's always that first voice, the one that says, maybe we could do it differently. You're in this space and you are a dreamer. You are an innovator, an instigator. Your voice is needed. May you not stay quiet. May you share it. May you move into the world believing that you are the blueprint, not the black sheep, that you are royalty, and that the world needs that message too, needs what you carry. You know, what is the point of us being our own people, of having these inclinations, of these ideas, these, what is the point? Why is it even there for you in the first place? And again, sometimes this instigation is just meant for us in our household. There could be something very small that you feel, well, not small, it can feel very big to say something small to your spouse, but maybe you need it. Maybe that's what you are being called to in this season too, is just taking up that space. I also saw this week a picture of the vocal cords right here, just like of the muscles. And I was struck with how much it actually looks like a vagina, like the opening, the portal. And when you think about too, the same thing, our voice is always um, birthing something, it's creating something. And how much too that we as women have also been told to be quiet. Mm. I ask that you remember your voice. That silence isn't meant for you. Taking breath, taking space, not adding to the noise is one thing, but muting yourself to keep peace, there's still a cost. And I think sometimes we have to consider what we're costing ourselves by not being in the fullness and the truth of who we are. And remembering that every time we're doing that, we are attracting and repelling. There will be people who do not like it, who can't stay. Good. Let them go. Let them go. Because, in the same token, every time that you're speaking and being honest, you're also a little beacon for other people who are going, oh, I thought I had that idea all by myself. I thought that's the only, like, I only felt that way. And we have some pretty important work to do over the next couple years. These dreamers and innovators here in this space. It is not your job to be quiet. No, no. It is your job to take up space and to bring forward and call into existence what you're here to dream and to create. And haters will hate. And again, sometimes they're going to be really close to you. Oftentimes they probably are. Um, but again, that's not why we do it, right? The intention is far greater than so many of the trolls would diminish or call things into existence. Um, All right. I've got a card for us today. It's coming from the Divine Feminine Oracle Guidebook. And today we have Kali, the mother of the universe. I release all that doesn't serve me. It's time for the truth of who I am. Kali embodies the ultimate wake-up call to get us aligned as soon as possible with what we have come here to do. This Hindu goddess is the most fierce form of the dark divine feminine. She is that which brings all things to life or to an end. Her name comes from the Sanskrit word meaning the fullness of time. Kali is first mentioned in the 6th century when the goddess Durga is threatened by two demons. Kali emerges from the rage furrowed in Durga's forehead and slays all the demons with ease. This is why she is often pictured holding the severed head of a demon, which represents the ego or false beliefs and illusions. She appears wrathful, and yet she is considered to be the most loving. She's like a mother desperate to grab her beloved child from out of harm's way, willing to yank them from the path that they were on in order to bestow freedom. Her iconography often depicts her as standing on the naked body of the Hindu god Shiva. He is her consort, and together they represent the power available to us when we both honor the masculine and the feminine within us. And Kali is the feminine that's called on when the masculine has gone out of balance within us and in the world. She is the divine protectress and the mother of the universe because she can cut through illusion and grant us the reality our soul came here to manifest. Kali is as subtle as a sledgehammer. She shows up to strip us of what no longer serves us, and that sounds good in theory, but in practice, it can feel as if the ground beneath us has turned to sand. All those illusions about ourselves, especially what we think we're capable of, suddenly dissolve beneath us. When Kali sweeps in, we can easily slip into feeling like a victim. It can feel as though events are happening to us rather than for us. Kali doesn't want us to waste another precious second being someone we are not. She doesn't want us to be with a partner who doesn't treat us with the respect and love we need to do the light work we've come here to do. Kali wants to sever the ties our ego has made out of fear or out of false belief that we don't deserve better or more. She wants us to get terrifyingly real. She wants us to reckon with the fact that we are not here to please others or to make them proud. We are here to listen to the singular call of our own soul. Kali is the harbinger of having entered Kairos, soul time. And stripping the ego to reveal the soul can feel raw and often heartbreaking. But ultimately, Kali has come out of fierce love for the truth of who we really are. She is giving us the opportunity to choose again, to start over, and this time from a place of tremendous wisdom and strength, our vulnerability. She lets us begin again from the bare bones truth of who we are. I love this line. We are not here to please others or to make them proud. Hmm. We are here to listen to the singular call of our own soul. Kali is the harbinger of having entered Kairos, soul time. Soul time. What would that look like to let go of the agreement that we need to make anyone proud? What if that isn't our job to make our parents proud, to make our community proud, whatever that is, um, to please? It's funny too. I actually have the word Kairos tattooed on my neck right here. That was my first tattoo. I have two, but I was struck by Kairos is also talked about soul time. The way that I heard it explained is that there's two different variations of time that we have from the Greeks. Chronos, chronological, so it's as time happens in sequence, and then Kairos. Kairos are moments in time when things come together to form meaning, to make something make a little more sense. Why something happened 3 years ago? Now maybe. Um, and I got this, I think, when I was living in Richmond. So 2013 or 14. This has been here with me, but I love thinking about that too. That perhaps, like, if we lean into not time as it happens, but also time as it's coming and paying attention to, again, what we're being invited to, just like for me this morning, those song lyrics repeating, I will not be quiet. No, I will not be quiet. Repeating over and over in my mind. So that's the invitation today. Don't be quiet. Be exactly the right amount of volume that you crave to be, whatever that is. And sometimes it's a whisper. Maybe that's enough. Maybe that's all it is. And all it is everything. I'll see you next week.